I'd like to call to order the November 18th, 2024 regular board meeting of the State College Area School District Board of Directors. If everyone who's able could please rise and join for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us in person this evening and those viewing remotely from home. The board held an executive session on November 4th regarding personnel and prior to this meeting regarding personnel and two legal items. Those were case number 4:22-CV-01335-MWB and case number 580-MAL 2023. Board members, with an agenda before you, are there any changes? Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to call on the board secretary for a roll call of board members, please.
Dr. Bader?
Here.
Dr. Anderson?
Here.
Ms. Brandt?
Here.
Dr. Buck?
Here.
Dr. Crevecoeur?
Here.
Dr. Zemo?
Here.
Ms. Huff?
Here.
Mr. Colby?
Here.
Dr. Miller?
Here.
Thanks. So next on the agenda, we have communication updates. Prior to the meeting, the board recognized the coaches and members of the State High Boys Cross Country State Championship team. These individuals completed an unforgettable season earlier this month and winning the AAA title, the program's first since 1986. They were led by senior Isaac Opperman, finishing 4th, and sophomore Theo Opperman taking 5th. State High won handily with a mere 53 points to LaSalle College's second place 117. It was the 4th lowest score by a AAA boys team at the state championship in 40 years. That's pretty remarkable. On behalf of the board, congratulations to the team members, head coach Rebecca Donahue, and her assistant coaches for their accomplishment. Our school community is proud of you, and we were happy to celebrate your victory. And next up, Mr. Johnson will share a superintendent update.
Thank you. I would like to remind our community about the Soup, Spuds, and social media informational event for the families this Wednesday, November 20th at State High. Due to the positive feedback from last year, we are bringing back the event to help inform parents and students about potential online dangers. State High's School Resource Officer, State College Police Officer John Aston will talk about digital wellness, providing information about cell phones, social media, gaming, and chat rooms. This will be a straightforward, frank presentation with other speakers and time for questions. Childcare will be available. Before the presentation, we will serve broccoli cheddar soup, chili con carne, garlic bread, and baked potatoes with your choice of toppings, all free and prepared by our talented high school culinary arts students. The dinner in State High's cafeteria will start at 5:30 p.m. with the presentation in the Performing Arts Center beginning at 6:15 p.m. Also starting at 5:30 p.m., board members will be available in the cafeteria for community members to discuss school district matters. And that will be it.
Great. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. So as opposed to one of our coffees with the community, we're going to be at this event for this next upcoming engagement. Student Representative Grace Levy will provide us with an update on student initiatives. Thanks, Grace.
Excuse me.
Sort of feels
Just use mine. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations to the State High Speech and Debate team on a stellar performance at their first tournament of the year at Dallastown High School. Competing against hundreds of students from 23 schools, State High had 11 students win awards and were quarter and semifinalists in their respective categories. State High's team members were Safa Ali, Emily Brightbill, Emma Brown, Ryan Brown, Aaron Lee, Sol Lee, Olivia Lee, Corin Martin, Caitlin Tan, Celeste Van Ness, and Kara White. Congratulations to the Mount Nittany Middle School Little Lion Readers team for winning first place at the recent secondary CIU 10 reading competition. Collectively, the 9-member team read 25 books and short stories over the past 2 months, then worked together to answer trivia questions about the titles during the competition's 3 rounds.
Thanks, Grace. Next up, we have legislative update. Jackie, do you have anything to report?
So I just wanted to update everyone that our representation as a result of the last election at the state level did not change. So we still have Senator Langer-Holk, Senator Dush are representing our district, and then Representative Conklin and Representative Takak are also, thank you. We're really looking forward to continuing our work with them, and we thank them all for running.
Yeah, great. It's nice to have relationships already well established, so that's helpful. Center Region Council of Governments Liaison Report. Gretchen and Peter, anything from COG?
Peter? I'll just report that there is a general forum meeting on Monday, so I'll be able to attend because we do not have a meeting at the same time, and a Parks Authority meeting on Thursday.
Okay. So next up, we have time for public comment. Each individual will be allotted up to 3 minutes for items related to board business that are not a consent or action item this evening. For those items, public comment will be held just prior to voting on that item. If you'd like to make a public comment, please come to the podium and you can share your name and where you reside in the district. Do we have anyone here this evening in person that would like to make a public comment? Sure.
Lydia Myers, Ferguson Township. Good evening. I want to speak about the physical education PE attire regulations as published in the 2024 Student Family Handbook and their alignment with SCASD Policy 221. Policy 221 states, in part, students may be required to wear certain types of clothing while participating in PE classes to ensure the health or safety of the student. Unfortunately, by wording Policy 221 this way, the board has enabled teachers and administrators to undermine the incredibly hard work some of you put in years ago to ensure SCASD attire standards were equitable and inclusive. The handbook reads, in part, PE teachers reserve the right to determine appropriate attire, i.e., loose-fitting shorts, sweatpants, and t-shirts. These restrictive PE attire regulations stray from their health or safety guidelines, introduce subjectivity, and vary greatly from the general SCASD attire standards, creating a gender bias towards female students. The PE attire regulations restrict clothing choices without clear health or safety reasoning as required by Policy 221. The items listed can cause health or safety concerns, like loose-fitting shorts or sweatpants may fall down, creating trip hazards, or may have drawstrings that can catch on equipment. Pockets may cause injuries, like broken fingers, and t-shirts may snag, restrict motion, and retain sweat. Similarly, it's unclear why athletic attire like tank tops, leggings, skirts, bodysuits, and compression shorts are deemed unsafe, especially since each of these items are part of SCASD athletic uniforms. This inconsistency suggests the regulations are based on subjective preferences rather than objective safety concerns. District representatives have even stated the regulations focus on avoiding, quote, awkward situations and eliminating a, quote, gray area that is difficult to enforce. However, these subjective goals conflict with Policy 221, which allows only health or safety-based restrictions. Ironically, the current regulations can create gray areas and awkward situations. Loose clothing can expose students if it shifts, and questions remain about the acceptability of drawstrings, pockets, and t-shirt material and styles. Policy 221 was designed to avoid these issues by requiring objective health or safety justifications only. These subjective restrictions disproportionately affect female students by excluding items they commonly wear. Regulations that emphasize covering shoulders, stomachs, and waists carry harmful, gendered implications, reinforcing stereotypes that can contribute to body image and mental health issues. Such policies unfairly place the burden on female students to manage the perceptions of others. I respectfully urge the board to amend Policy 221 to include PE attire regulations that require any deviation from the general attire policy be grounded in documented, objective health or safety needs. This will enforce consistency, prevent misuse, and uphold SCASD's values of equity, inclusion, and belonging for all students.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.
Anyone else here in person for public comment? Do we happen to have anyone online joining us that would like to make a public comment? You just raise your hand. Yeah. Okay. So next, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes several items that we'll address in a single motion for approval. To facilitate any questions, we'll move through each category individually. Board members, if you have a question, please raise your hand and let me know. So we'll start out with minutes. We have minutes from our last previous meeting and a work session recently. Any questions or corrections there? All right. We'll move on to finance and personnel. We've got some athletic sponsorships, some budget amendment items, treasurer's report, and routine human resources recommendations. Yeah, Debbie.
I just had one quick question on the athletic sponsorship. The information said it was to help pay for this particular sort of, I don't know, social media platform. If the sponsorship doesn't continue in the future, like, is this a trial period? Like, I don't know what the total cost is of that platform. And then does the athletic department plan to take it over? Or are we just going to keep looking for a sponsor? I'm just curious about ongoing costs.
Yes, to all of that.
To all of that?
If
Okay.
it continues, we will continue to look for a sponsorship, but we are also prepared to take it on budgetarily if it's successful. We look at this as a win-win for this year because it's not a cost for us, and we're not sure how successful it will be.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, Randy. Anything else from finance and personnel? Okay, we can move on to instructional programs. We mostly seem to have student travel there every meeting, so that seems to be it for this too. Physical plant, we've got some routine service contracts. Okay, and finally, we have policies that we've reviewed at previous meetings up for approval. Any questions there or concerns? All right. Seeing none, then I'd like to call for a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 6 through 10, as presented. Do I have a motion?
Demo so moved.
Colby, second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any last questions, corrections, problems? Okay, any public comment on consent agenda items? Okay, seeing none, board members in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda has passed. We'll move on to action items. First up, we have agenda item 11A is a motion to approve the 2023-2024 management discussion and analysis, and this is shown in attachment 11A. We reviewed this at our previous meeting as an info discussion item. Is there anything you wanted to add or anything, Randy or Joe? Okay, we went through a thorough presentation on that. Does anybody have any questions that weren't resolved at the last meeting? Oh,
Do you need a motion?
I was getting there, but yeah,
Okay.
that'd be lovely. Go ahead.
I move to approve item 11A.
I have a second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Still, one more time, any questions? It's part of my script, I've got to ask it, I'm sorry. Any public comment on the MDNA documents? How about online? No. Okay. Board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that item is passed. Thanks very much, Joe and Randy. Next up, we have agenda item 11B, a motion to approve 2024-2025 Agreement 1. There's no attachment for this particular item. Do I have a
Miller, so
motion?
moved.
Okay.
Demo second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any questions that need resolving? Okay. Any public comment on this item? No. Okay, board members in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item is passed. Next up, agenda item 11C is a motion to approve 2024-2025 Agreement Number 2. Again, there's no attachment for this particular item.
Huff so moved.
Miller, second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any problems or questions? Any public comment on this item? No. Okay, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item is also passed. Agenda item 11D is a motion to approve advanced placement fee waivers, and these are shown in attachment 11D. Do I have a motion?
Huff so moved.
Colby, second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. Did you want to present anything, or I'm just asking, just give me an opportunity. I'm not insisting, but you just started getting up, so. The memo is pretty straightforward, so really appreciate all the different ways you crunched the data and presented some of the information for us to look at. Do board members have any questions or concerns they'd like addressed regarding the memo? Yeah, Carly?
Yeah, it's not, the memo was very complete. I was just wondering that the types of AP exam, I know you didn't really specify any of the AP exam, but I was really curious about the African American AP exam, since this was the first year that we were having it.
This coming year.
This,
Yes, we did not administer it last
you
year.
didn't, right, so, but the kids already signed up for it this coming year, so I just wanted to have an idea how many students are already taking the class? Like, has it been like successful? Has it been?
Yes, there are 22 students, I believe, taking the class, and there are 7 students who are signed up to take the test.
Also, like I said, you didn't really say about the specific AP exam. Is it more one type than the other? Just out of curiosity. I mean, I don't think this is what this is supposed to cover, but as I was reading this, it was very impressive, all the data, and so I'm very happy about it. But I just was curious about the types of AP exam they're taking.
Yes, we have a very high number of students who take AP Human Geography, AP World History, and AP US History. 200, roughly 200 students for each.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's helpful to know. Yeah, Debbie?
I was just curious, there was a big increase in the number of first-time test takers from last year to this year, from 2 years ago to last year. And it's still a fraction of the high school. Like, do you anticipate, I would assume the growth will probably be a little bit smaller next year? I mean, do we have any sort of thinking about as we go forward, or do you feel like we've kind of captured most of the first-time test takers, and then the number will stay kind of consistent?
You're asking a really good question. So 2 years ago, actually, there was a higher number
Okay.
of first-time test takers. Last year, that number went down. I think the uptick was because of post-pandemic, students were newly starting to take AP tests again, because I think they were feeling more prepared at that point. The following year, which was last year, that number went down, which I would have expected. This year, we did a real push to work on getting first-time test takers out there. And I think that that number is captured in that 1,000 extra students who are currently in AP classes. And I also think that proportionally, there are more students who are taking the test. Will it go up next year? I can't say, but I hope so.
Okay.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Other questions? Okay, great. Thanks so much for
Sure.
being here to answer
you.
those.
No problem.
Do we have any public comment on this item on AT? Sure, come up to the mic. If you share your name and where you reside in the district, you have 3 minutes.
Hi.
I think you're on.
Okay. Hi, I'm Angeline Henward. I'm a student at State High, and I'm the Delta representative. I'm one of the students, 7 students taking the AP African American exam, and I'm currently registered in the course. And I don't know if this is relevant, but I really like it. I really enjoy it, and she's been prepping us really well for the exam. As someone who has taken a class with her before, I really enjoy it, and I'd be willing to answer any questions about what's going on within the coursework.
And who's your instructor? You said she, but who?
Mrs. Jessica James, she's the, I believe, social studies department head.
Yeah. I wasn't sure who got tapped to do that class. Yeah, she's great. Well, thanks so much for sharing. I appreciate that. All right.
I want to take this opportunity to really thank Jen Rand for all her work. The numbers are due a lot to her, talking with students, pushing students, scheduling students, and we really appreciate it. So thanks.
All right. Any other public comment? All right. Board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay? Okay. That item is passed. We'll move on to agenda item 11E, a motion to approve the power purchase agreement documents. These are shown in attachment 11E. Do I have a motion?
Grant, so moved.
Miller, second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. Questions, discussion, anything you want to remark on, Randy?
I think something that we need to clarify is that the total amount, and this differs from the memo, is about 15.1 million kilowatt hours. That 80% cannot fluctuate with our demand. So it was what we had said prior to the last meeting. We had a little bit of confusion about that, but what we had stated initially, so 79% going to 80%. That 80% number, 15.1815, that's the number, expressed as a percentage of the total project.
So it's a consistent value year to year,
Correct.
whereas before we were a little confused that it might vary. Okay.
Right.
So we're back to the beginning, which is
Basically
great.
back
So
to the beginning.
That's fine. That's kind of where we sat for a long time, so we're good with that, I think, mostly. Yes, Ann?
So I really appreciate in the slideshow that you have that pitfalls section. That was very helpful to kind of, as a prevent defense. But I wanted to ask a quick question. On page 7, I think it's 7, there is the discussion of where it's going to be potentially be located, and I can't find it, of course, now that I'm talking, where if you can't get the permits, something will happen. That wasn't listed in the pitfall section, so could you just talk us through if they can't get the permits, then what would happen? Because to me, that is the only, other kind of potential pitfall I could think of.
Sure, they have to provide us power from another project that they have.
Okay.
So, and they have, in the initial proposal that they gave to us, there were 3 sites.
Okay.
This being, the one in Walker Township being one, and then also in Clarion County and one, and I just don't remember,
Yeah.
that's 2 years ago.
I think 2 were in Center County.
Is
and
that
one
right?
was in Clarion.
And one was in Clarion. So, we would just be entitled to the electrons from one of those other projects at the rate that we have. So,
That's
That's
not, that's a non-issue.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, it's an
that's-
issue that's been addressed.
Yes.
That risk is on their side of the fence, so to speak.
Yeah.
If that doesn't flow through, that's their problem, not our
Yeah,
problem.
and so all those things, all those curtailments, where if they don't give us what they say that they are, then they have to find another way to give it to us at the price that we've agreed to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Just sort of a follow-up question based on their assumption of risk, just based on changes to kind of the national political landscape. I'm just wondering, there's no risk on our end, say if materials were to go up in price, that's their issue.
That would be their issue.
Okay.
Yes, and I believe that isn't an issue because they have probably already purchased
Oh, okay.
large amounts of panels.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
That's a good question, one I kind of did pop into my head as well. We're all kind of thinking a lot about construction costs moving forward in the next couple of years. Other questions on the PPA documents? They were pretty lengthy. We've talked about them a few times. Okay, yeah, what, did you want to add something, Peter?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
There can always be something.
There's always something. Well, so I was going to make a few remarks before we vote, just on kind of the culmination of this big event. So this project's been a pretty groundbreaking effort, bringing together at this point 10 local government entities and agencies cooperating cooperating on improving energy price stability in our budgeting, overall fiscal responsibility for our organizations, and environmental sustainability. So these are all essential roles of each and every one of our organizations. This endeavor represents years of hard work by a multitude of individuals, and in particular of note, I want to acknowledge the work of our civil servants in carrying out the goals of the elected officials. This includes our own Randy Brown, who's been very dedicated and a lead member of this whole process, as well as County Administrator John Franek and COG Sustainability Planner Pam Adams. These are all dedicated individuals who have put in enormous amounts of time and energy to engage with dozens of officials and consultants. So the PPA and its team has faced some challenges over the course of its evolution, most notably being almost derailed by the global pandemic. And I want to really remark upon that, several years into before this project could really be culminated. And that's true of so many projects across, the country. So, good things take time. So I understand that with a project of this magnitude, that includes a large number of different individuals and entities, it's unlikely that every person involved is going to be ecstatic over the entire experience. Any of you with a student assigned a group project is likely to be familiar with this kind of phenomenon and complaints. But what I will say is that having borne witness to the entire process since inception, I'm confident that those involved in the heavy lifting for this project were dedicated to upholding the goals of the project, to both save governmental organizations and thus taxpayers money, and to take responsibility for our energy consumption's impact on climate change. So throughout, those participants entered into discussions in good faith and with integrity, and I just want to thank everyone for all that work. Okay, that's all I had to say. Anything else anybody else would like to add? All right, with that, we'll open it to public comment. How about online? No public comment, all right. Then board members, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That item has passed. Moving on, agenda item 11F is a motion to approve a sewer extension agreement with University Area Joint Authority, and this is shown in attachment 11F.
Huff so moved.
Buck, second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion on this item? Pretty straightforward. Any public comment? All right, board. Oh, okay.
So Joan Bouchard.
Joan Bouchard.
Oh, that was probably on the last
Oh,
item.
was it?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, Joan, if you had a remark you wanted to share, I think we would be okay without objections from the rest of the board. If we missed you, please feel free. I know that you've written to us a couple different times through the process, so we wouldn't. Yeah, you just need to find your unmute button, Joan, and then you should be able to hopefully.
Gosh.
There you are.
Okay, you can hear me now?
We can.
What do you know? Okay, so I would like to just say that I am here, oh, wait. Help if I turned on my screen. Okay, well, I don't know whether it's going to do it or not. I'd like to say that I'm here representing several communities here, retired people, members of the Sierra Club, members of the Recycling Committee at the Village at Penn State, members of the Creation Care Committee from St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, and all the grandparents like me who hope that our kids and our grandkids are going to see us leave them a habitable world. And I'd also like to commemorate and commend all of the people that have worked on it in the past 5 years. And I'd like to add that if we can do something, which we can here, and if we don't do it, that's really a lack of responsibility, because we could be, and now it looks as though we will be, a leader providing a model for school systems and local governments all over the nation. And so we will not be guilty of dereliction of our duty. And I appreciate the fact that you approved this without even needing to listen to my comments. Thank you for the opportunity of speaking on behalf of the SPPA.
Thank you, John. We still enjoyed your encouragement and positive feedback, so thank you very much. All right, with that, we'll circle back to the University Area Joint Authority Sewer Extension Agreement. Do we have any comments on that particular item? I don't think so. All right. With that, board members voting in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that item has passed as well. And that completes our action portion of the agenda. We're going to move on to information reports. We have several policy updates that we're going to start with, and we have Ms. Simpson to join us and go over those. Thanks, Michelle. Good evening.
We've been flying along here. I'm going to make sure I don't delay you very much. Yeah, so you'll see several items for information and discussion tonight, and we do have some people available for resources if you have questions, both online and in person. So the first policy we're looking at is Policy 150. This is a new policy that we are mandated to put in place to make sure that we are offering comparable services for students. It's not a very lengthy policy. It's one, as I mentioned, has not been on the books to date, but is recommended by PSBA. Does anybody have any questions on that one? Great. Okay, we'll go to the next one. This is the eligibility of non-resident students. This was just revised in November of 2023, but due to Act 67 of 2024, it was needed to be amended. So we made those amendments, and we do have, I believe, Stephanie Beaver and Cindy Surgeon online if anyone has any questions about this policy. Great. Policy 805.2, school security personnel. This policy is being revised as required by Act 55 of 2024. This establishes a new section of the school code requiring completion of required training for at least one full-time school security individual, which we have had in place for a very, very long time, and who we're fortunate to have with us here tonight. Officer John Aston is one of our school resource officers. Also, the new school code provision requires certain information be included in the annual report that Dr. Bucher is going to have to do as in his role as the school safety and security coordinator. They are both available too if you have comments. Questions?
So just to be clear, this is just updating it to comply with the new state statutes or state laws that were put into effect. It's not actually changing any of the operational things we do other than the reporting. that we have to
I believe that's correct. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you want to come up? We knew we'd get him up here somewhere or the other.
Good evening. Can you restate the question?
Oh, I just wanted to clarify that this policy isn't necessarily changing operational procedures of anything we've been doing in the district. It's just to update to the statutes and provide definitions and complete reporting that needs to be done now as part of the state mandate.
Yes, I think to summarize it, it adds some definitions that weren't there, but also makes it more robust as far as the output of the services that security provides at the end of the year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As we went through in policy committee, it seemed like much of what was required we were already doing, but we're getting it documented and codified in policy, so we make sure it continues to happen moving forward and meets the legislative requirements. Anybody else with any questions on this one?
Oh, we have you here. Thank you for all you do for the students in the
Yes.
district.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
I'm assuming I'm going to see everybody on Wednesday night.
I'm planning to be there. I've heard those those baked potatoes are pretty fabulous, is what I heard last year. So, and I missed it, so I'll be there.
All right, great, thank you.
Thanks,
I
John.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, and our last one is our policy 906, public comment procedures. This had not been revised since 1999.
This is complaint.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I know
public
we've been-
complaint.
we were
I'm sorry.
working on comment.
I'm thinking about the public
It's easy to
comment
get
that
tongue-tied, yeah.
we're going to do next time, right? Public complaint procedures. This had not been revised since 1999, so it was due for revision. So, anybody have any questions about that? The goal is to resolve complaints at the lowest level possible. No questions? Okay, great. We have a policy committee meeting tomorrow, 1:30.
We do.
All right, we'll see y'all then.
All right, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right, we can move on to Danielle Yoder and Jess Quinter, I think we have online with us this evening to provide an overview of the Firefly Benchmark Pilot Assessment for Park Forest Elementary.
And I'm not sure she is online, so I think it is just me.
Okay, we like to have you too.
Sure. So as you saw in the memo, there is a new, it's about no more than 45 minutes assessment that is on the same platform that the electronic PSSAs or Pennsylvania Standardized Assessment is on. And it has come out, and one of the things that we've noticed is we are still using our MAP, the Measures of Academic Progress, benchmark assessment. And as you know, we use the Acadience benchmark assessment also in elementary schools. That's more of a primary. But as we've been working through the Future Ready comprehensive plan, we've shifted back to kind of using the PSSA more as the Future Ready goals. So when we look at those goals and those action targets, our school comprehensive plans are really based more on the state assessment than they used to be the MAP. And what has happened is our MAP gives predictors. We are using that. We still plan to use that, but they're predicting us to be higher than the end result of the PSSA in some of our schools. And so when this assessment came out, some of the teachers, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade at Park Forest said, hey, could we give this a try to determine what interventions that might be more aligned to the state standards and what enrichments, as we're working through small group and interventions in the interventions times, that could help us kind of modify what our students need more of or maybe are not getting enough of within the curriculum so that we can focus on it. So Dr. Quinter reached out to me. We did a little bit of information. And again, it is new this year with the state. It is a pilot. And they are just requesting that they can try this to see what it is, to see if it does help them with their planning for differentiation within their school with both reading and math in those particular grade levels.
Thanks, Danielle. And I appreciate it. I shared some questions with Danielle earlier, which I sent out to the rest of the board just to some clarifications, kind of how it would work and how it compares to some of the things we're already using. So, other board members, questions? Aaron?
So this is, it seems like we're testing it. This doesn't replace the map? Is that correct?
No, we would not want to do that. I mean, what we want to do is say, they want to take a look at what does this do to help us better differentiate for our students during that small group time, right? So we're really trying to do inclusive practices where we get the whole group grade level and then take time to differentiate and expand to give students what they need. The map is it's been something we've been using. The teachers are using it. But they want to see, will this help us better understand with regards to the Pennsylvania state standards? Keep in mind, MAP is nationally, it's a national test, to help them drill down to use their resources to determine what are their needs when they hit the online state test in April. The nice thing about Firefly is it's going to be, one of the things we've been trying to determine is since we've gone to online assessments, so the PSSA is going to all online starting next year. State College has been doing it in elementary since 2019. Our middle schools go electronic, but beginning in '25, it completely models that too, to kind of showcase the types of questions on the online format. MAP is online too, different style of question format that they provide compared to what this Firefly is going to do.
So with this, how many days of standardized testing are we asking kids to do in a year?
Yeah, so this is a formative assessment. It's about, like I said, no more than 45 minutes to give them what they see. They would like to give this. PDE just sent something out today. It opened today. Governor Shapiro is saying that he is going to continue to reduce the tests beginning next year. We should see even more of a reduction. So state tests, the ELA went from 4 days to 3 days to now 2 days, or 3 days, three, and the math went from 3 days to now 2 days. 5th grade this year, if you will recall, will have to take the new science assessment, and that will be 1 or 2 days for 5th graders and 8th graders in addition.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, and typically, I'm trying to remember, but we've gotten, annually, we usually approve a list of assessments. So the administration brings us a list of all the different kinds of
Yes.
testing that we have our students, and that's at one time where we have kind of an opportunity to look at it whole scale and how frequently, how much, is there a burden of testing and things like that. So we typically do look at that annually.
I would say, I think it would be really helpful at some point, not tonight, but just to get, and I know the teachers don't necessarily come to these meetings, but just to get a sense of how they use the data that come out of those assessments and those tests, because it's great to hear from the administrative side, but I would really like to know on the ground level how do teachers make sense of this information? And the reason I ask that is because I just had my earlier parent-teacher conference for my fourth grader with Emma's teacher is excellent. And most of what we talked about was stuff in a portfolio that isn't captured on that kind of state test data. So I'm just curious about how teachers use this. And it sounds like they do, but I think for public consumption as well, it would be interesting because, you know, parents get the MAP scores sent home and they don't really know how to interpret them. So just, I think how we use the data would be really helpful, at least for me and I think for other parents.
No, sure, absolutely. And we can even do that with this. Like, as I said with Park Forest, this is something that it is only that school that they reached out and wanted to do it because it was not on our assessment calendar. It's why we brought it to you tonight to say, you know, this is something that they want to try, but we can certainly bring back what they found. If it is encompassing or something, they would probably do it this time, but we could also have teachers, I mean, in the future, if that's something we want, many teachers take the MAP to really determine what skills are needed. If we could get back to more professional development, and use it even more, but teachers are using data to really inform their instruction, I think more and more, but I'm happy to hear that you're receiving a portfolio because there's a lot more to a classroom day of that type of authentic experiences that we want to be sharing with parents as well.
Yeah, Anne?
I was just gonna say, thanks for supporting this. I'm really excited that the state is offering it for free, and so doing a small pilot study seems great. I hope it's helpful, and if it's not, then we reassess. But I hope it goes well. So good luck.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask about, with a pilot, and in the document it says, one time 45 minutes. So is the pilot they're only going to take it once in the school year, or is it going to be like with MAP, I know we're late in the semester.
Sure.
So can you just operationalize what pilot means?
Absolutely. It is a benchmark assessment, so normally 3 times a year would be a recommendation. They're going to give it, try to see what they get from it, and if they can work it. We did talk, that was something that Dr. Bader asked, and it would have been no more than 3, but probably 2 times this year if the first test is beneficial, to see prior, in February or March, then did they get the growth from the differentiation that they're hoping to use the test for.
Other questions? I think it's great. I appreciate all the information that you shared. As always, we're trying to figure out what are the best assessments we can use to help both our teachers and our students, and while getting where we want to get without over focusing on just testing. And so that's important. I was interested, this is not Danielle's area, but that it was being offered for Keystone assessments too. And I know that we don't necessarily, I'm not aware of us having any kind of benchmarking tool for Algebra 1 and those things. So it would be interesting to, if other places are using it, to hear what, kind of experience they might have with that, or what value that might be to us as well for secondary. So it was interesting that the state's offering that as well. Yeah, that's what the flyer said, that it's for Keystone literature, Algebra 1, and
then science
biology?
next
And
year.
science?
Biology and science next year.
Yeah,
In ninth grade, they use MAP.
yeah.
So, but you'll get to see some of our Keystone results next meeting, so,
Okay, looking forward to it.
yeah.
All right. Anything else?
I just have a quick.
Yeah, Gretchen.
So it's probably in here somewhere, and I did read this, but I have this question anyway. What is the difference between this and MAP? Because it sounds like they do the same thing, but
So
they must
again,
not.
this is really aligned to Pennsylvania state standards, and we don't,
And MAP
I
is
would love,
not.
I'll be able to tell you a lot more once I get up there and see it. MAP is a national assessment, right, national standards. It can give us PSSA predictor, but when they take the MAP, the way they answer the question kind of analyzes, they want to get them the RIT score. Remember the RIT score, to see where they are performing nationally amongst other students at their age. This is more, the state assessment is more like, almost like a summative assessment, where the questions are all going to be similar. They're all on that grade level, state standard that students in that grade level are being assessed on. Whereas MAP, it takes the child to different levels to perform, and then it will spit out, these are the areas you can work on. This is really aligned for, am I, as a student, or is my class ready to be proficient or advanced on the PSSAs? And if not, what areas do I need to focus on during those intervention times to help prepare them so that they are considered proficient by the end of the school year in the grade level standards in Pennsylvania, on the Pennsylvania State Assessment, which is what Pennsylvania uses for the Future Ready Predictor Index. So they're, although we can send them the third grade reading scores from MAP, and I think the seventh grade math scores, that is just one small predictor on the overall Future Ready results.
So it's sort of a test to let the teachers know where they need to spend time so that the PSSA scores can get better?
Well, no, it's really to enhance and enrich within those standards. So when we write our curriculum based on the Pennsylvania state standards. There are national standards and then PA core standards, right? So the Firefly is really strictly aligned with the PA standards that are aligned and are part of eligible content on the state test. But it also will give them like a breakdown in the domains of the 5 key math areas that we focus on. So measurement, algebra, geometry, data analysis, and then like numbers and operations, just to share with them, this child may, if you're differentiating in a small group, this child is really strong in this area, but maybe we, may need more support in data analysis and statistics, and give them ideas like that.
So do you think this then gives information to teachers that the MAP doesn't give?
Their hope, the main hope of Park Forest is, again, the MAP, they're using their data, they're digging in, they're working towards having all students meet the end of the year benchmarks that the state puts out. And MAP is giving them some predictors that at the end, when they receive their PSSA overall scores, they're not showing what MAP is showing. So some of our high students might not be performing, and they just say, is this going to help us better understand how we really can support those students so we can continue to grow them in all areas?
So the Firefly is more directed at the state standards and PSSA.
Yes.
And the
MAP is national.
MAP is more to find out where a student is in terms of their actual knowledge in a certain area.
Could be knowledge, just overall understanding of the national standards, gives them like college and career readiness predictors. There's a lot the MAP gives. Where are they with growth and achievement? Are they, high growth but low achievement? So the MAP gives all kinds of predictors in that area, but you can drill down on MAP also, and then you can take MAP and try to determine how to differentiate.
Yeah, the reason I'm just curious, because I'm trying to figure out, is the Firefly more for the PSSAs, but then the MAP is more for really trying to figure out where a kid is at in terms of benchmarks. So I guess I can't really tell yet, but if the teachers want it, then, I do feel bad for students just having more and more and more standardized tests, but I guess we'll see where this goes. But thank you so much for answering all my questions.
No,
I appreciate
sure.
it very much.
Sure.
Yeah, Debbie. Just to follow up, because a couple things occurred to me during the conversation. So if the Firefly, sort of in the context of, not wanting to necessarily have kids take exams that they don't necessarily need to take, if the Firefly is predicting, are they on track to be proficient by the end of the year? Like, say some student is proficient on grade level by the time they take the first assessment in December. Do you have to take it again in the spring? Like, is it really doing much for you?
Yeah, it's really to help, again, and it is
And
a
I know it's hard to
pilot, so
say
I
because
can't
you don't
say a
know,
lot,
because they haven't
right.
taken it yet, so
But it
bear
is
with
really
us.
supposed to target both interventions and enhancements and acceleration for the teachers.
Okay.
But I
Yeah, we don't
would-
know.
I've dug and dug and dug to try to figure it out, but since it's newly released, I can't give you that.
Okay.
We will get to know more about it once a student is assessed in it and we can see.
Cool. Well, we appreciate that, and we look forward to hearing the results.
Sure.
So that we can sort of see how useful it was and hear what the teachers think about how useful it was for their students and for their teaching.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the grassroots movement coming from teachers to give us suggestions on what can make things work better for them. So that's really lovely to see. Thanks, Danielle. Last up for information reports, we have a reminder that regarding the December 2nd reorganization meeting is coming up. The board secretary and I have received some committee interest from a few of you, and Debbie and I have worked on some potential proposed adjustments. We have some board members that need to make some changes in their assignments. So we shared with board members a tentative potential, some shifts and changes, and to get some of our less experienced board members into some different roles so they can grow their knowledge and experience. I know, Gretchen, you shared a bit of information about some of your roles, and so Debbie and I'd like to get together with you maybe and talk a little bit more about that. I think it would be helpful to codify some of that information for our onboarding documents, because I don't think we've put a lot about the COG and CRPR rules kind of in a place for our future board members. So let's have a conversation maybe about that, and we'll figure out a little more where that can go. So basically, board members can get back to leadership if there's a particular issue that you couldn't potentially make some of the shifts that are in here, or there's any kind of other kind of problems you want to give us feedback on. We can hopefully get this ironed out before our December 2nd meeting. Okay? Debbie, is there anything you want to add?
That's it. Just thanks for the feedback, and, we're just trying to not equalize, but manage everybody's time. We don't want anybody to feel overtaxed, and I think what you shared, Gretchen, made me really understand better the role of the COG representative, and it seems like a really big job. So understanding that better is helpful, and then maybe having an extra person in that sort of realm would be really helpful. So I think, we can take that information and go back, and if other people have thoughts, we want to manage everybody's time and keep the workload somewhat even across the board.
Yeah, it's pretty tough thing to sort out because some roles are quarterly and less maybe prep intensive versus like policy, which Dan, I appreciate you offering to step on to policy so I could step off. That's a pretty big lift, and we appreciate everybody that serves on that committee. It's some of our most important work, and we're really making progress with Michelle's help and the other staff to really get ahead and catch up on policy work that we're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought I'd add some context to the email that I had sent the board. And the reason that none of that has been codified is because it didn't exist before I took on the role. So I kind of created all of those committee I didn't create them, but I was asked to join when nobody had ever done that from SCASD before. So that work has, I think a lot of people probably, that's why I wrote the email, I don't know what it is, and has not been codified because it's been evolving and growing in the past 9 years now. So I do think that a board member who will still be here after the next term, because I'm not planning on running again, should definitely be involved. I don't think it would make any sense for me to not do it just really quickly like that because of all of the information and knowledge throughout the process and how the organization is functioned and funded, and it just doesn't make sense. So, and along with the necessity of the Facilities Committee role, Parks Authority role, Parks Governance role, as well. So I kind of in my head already have in mind where that division of labor could logically occur and a time scale for that to happen from now until, when I leave. But I think it would be to the detriment of the school district to just chuck me like that. So I just thought that I would communicate that so that, because like I said, I think a lot of the things that are in that role, people don't realize what it is. So anyway, thanks for listening and reading.
Got it. All right, so moving on, we have next in the agenda, board reports for board members to share updates on their committee initiatives. So we can start with intermediate unit. Jackie or Ann, do you have anything
We
to share?
have, the title of the email is Best Email Ever. So I'm going to report, okay. So that the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program grants were announced on November 1st, and CIU 10 was awarded,
The full amount we asked for,
which was
$3.5 million.
Woo! That's amazing.
Yeah. Don't you like our little tag team here? So that means that finally, it looks like the CIU 10 will have a home,
Awesome. That's amazing.
a permanent home.
Yeah, so we're trying to move quickly because we need to move quickly. But we've been looking at different properties over several years.
More than several.
To be fair, the CIU lost their home before I was even a board member here. And so we have decided to move ahead with the property in downtown Phillipsburg at the site of the old high school, I think.
Junior high.
The old junior high, thank you. And so we're just thrilled to be making a home in Phillipsburg and kind of becoming part of that downtown community. And so we'll keep you updated. Lots of things are moving. And
Yeah, we're having a meeting on Thursday, so it's going to go from the best email ever to the best meeting ever. So we're looking forward to
You're
it.
going to take some sparkling cider with you? Yeah. Good. I was supposed to bring some of that for Randy tonight to celebrate the PPA, and I forgot. And for all the participants working on the PPA, but specifically Randy. That's great news. I mean, I'm really excited about the things I've heard about Phillipsburg's downtown improvement project. So knowing that you're going to place that really, big, substantial facility in that same space, I think is a really positive thing for Phillipsburg. That's really exciting.
yeah, and hopefully it will benefit all the districts in the IU, and it should be a great place to meet and have trainings and what have you. So we'll see what happens, and Ann and I will be working hard to make it the best it can be.
Awesome. We appreciate that.
And Scott.
Yeah. He's going to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. So next up is me for the SCASD Education Foundation. It was a pretty routine meeting, working on grants, prep for the 10-year anniversary campaign project, some planning about nominees for the Maroon and Gray Society event, which is this spring. So nothing really outside the box there for that one. CTC Local Advisory Committee, Carlene or Aaron, did you have anything?
We should have a meeting coming up soon.
Okay.
And one other thing, we got an email, well, we didn't, those of us on the CTC got an email as a follow-up from our last meeting, just about some really interesting jobs, specifically focused on manufacturing jobs in semiconductors and sensor technology in the area. And so we asked just for some follow-up about the starting wage, and they are hiring people out of high school for pretty good jobs. So kudos to people like Ben Morden for finding those opportunities and getting students connected to them.
That's great. Next up, we have Citizen Advisory Committee Liaison Reports. Athletics, Carlene?
We have a meeting coming up.
Sounds good. Facilities, Gretchen, have they met? Okay.
There was a meeting on October 31st, but there were not very many people there from the public.
Oh, sorry, I was out of the country.
Yeah, so I stepped in and listened, but we've already talked about at the last board meeting, it was basically the district-wide facility master plan update, and that's what they had shared with the public, or with the 2 or 3 people that were there. So it wasn't very well attended, but they did sort of get a little bit of feedback.
Great. Thanks for attending that, Deb. That's really appreciated. I didn't catch that. That was unlikely to be attended. Finance, Deb or Aaron, did you guys have a meeting at all for finance? CAC? I don't think.
No, the next one is December 11th.
Okay. School health and safety, I know, Ann, you weren't able to make it. Dan, did you happen to?
I was not there either.
Okay. So we'll maybe check in with Stephanie if there's anything we need to know from that. Technology
We have a meeting
coming up. Okay. I know, we seem to always fall board reports in between everything, so no worries. So that concludes our agenda for this evening. Looking ahead to future meetings, we have Tuesday, November 19th, as Michelle mentioned, that's tomorrow, Policy Development Committee at 1:30 here in the boardroom at Panorama Village. Wednesday, November 20th, we have our board conversation during the Soup, Spuds, and Social Media Night. That's at the high school cafeteria at 5:30, which we mentioned earlier also. And Officer Aston will be there, so we're excited for that. Tuesday, November 26th, is a Finance and Audit Committee. That's 11:30 here in the boardroom at Panorama. Monday, December 2nd, we'll have the board reorganization meeting. That's at 7 p.m. here at Panorama Village. Carlene has very kindly offered to serve as the temporary president for that meeting, so we have that role covered. Monday, December 2nd is the Committee of the Whole regular board meeting, and that'll immediately follow the reorganization meeting here at the boardroom. So with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting of the State College Area School District Board of Directors. Thanks everybody who came in person and watched online. Have a good evening.